This video will go through my Nightmare 4 build. It isn't completely mine, it's based on a build from my friend Tanel, so he gets much of the credit in coming up with this. Currently it requires a walling Squire, a Frosty Apprentice, a trapping Huntress, and a boost and AA monk. So to get started, you want to check the middle lane to see what resist you have. In this case we have physical resist and neutral, which is perfect. You don't really want a split middle lane which is physical resistance and magical resistance. That's much harder, but at the end of the video I will go over how to deal with that. So to start off, we grab the mana, and this build is different than the Nightmare 3 build that I've previously done a video on. So you start with one wall on the left side, kind of in line with this pole right here, a single wall in the middle that goes on this piece of debris, another wall on the right that goes in line a little bit out from these mushrooms. So now I'll switch to my Apprentice. Each lane will get 3 Frosty towers. The right lane gets them in kind of a triangle pattern around this barrel. And then 3 again here, starting with 1 on that piece of debris right there. Rest in a line. In the middle we'll put 2 on this little hill here. And it's important you put them down here and not up here, up on this kind of path, because flying kobolds will come from this side and explode along here, and if you put them up here they will be destroyed. Then 1 more Frosty right here on this railing. Now I'll switch to my Huntress for traps. So I'll start with explosive, so that means magic resist lanes. So I'll put 1 set here of 4 in front of this wall, and then 3 out here. And the goal of this trap kind of offset here is to hit books that will hit this wall. You can play with the area, but sometimes they kind of come farther out or a little closer in. Another option, how I originally did this build, was to have more of a triangle setup here. But it's up to you. Try and see what works for your particular build, how you exactly got it. Again, there will be 4 traps in front of this wall, and another 3 in kind of an L-shaped pattern that starts right off from this stick. Now for the middle, because this is physical and neutral, I will go to my Elemental Chaos Super. This is different than the other lanes in that there will be 7 traps in front of this wall generally, kind of in a square rectangle shape like this, another one right here, and you can put another one right here, but since I generally play a Squire, I put a Serenity Aura here, and I'll show that in a minute. Again, kind of a triangle pattern here with 1 on each side of the stick, and finally a trap here. Now this, you can actually put 2 traps here. If you don't put 1 here and you don't put a Serenity, I will put 1 there and 1 there, as things have a tendency to kind of get stuck on this little ledge. But it's up to you as to what you find works best. I put this here so that it kind of hits both when I use Serenity. So now I will switch to my monk to do boost auras in the AA and Serenity. The first boost goes here so that it hits the wall and as many of these traps as possible. As I said, I like to put a Serenity right here. As I play Squire, it's kind of nice to have that reduced damage and heal in this area. Then we come over to the left side, place down a boost again, hit the wall and as many traps as possible. Same thing on this side. You should be able to get all of these traps and the wall with 1 boost. Now for AA, I wait to wave 2 to build AA, because on the first wave there are no birds or anything like that. So there's a couple different places you can put the AA. Generally, I've been putting them here, 1 in the middle of the middle lane, and 1 in this plant. These will sometimes take damage from flying kobolds, so upgrade them and keep an eye on them. You might need to repair them mid-wave. That's kind of the one issue with this build, is where exactly to put the AA. Another position is behind the egg here. My issue with this is that sometimes flying kobolds will come down middle and they'll hit the egg, and that can end your game. There isn't really a perfect place to put this. Just kind of experiment too and figure out what works with your build. This works for my friend Tanel. It doesn't work for me. So just if neither of these work for you, try something new. Leave me a comment, and maybe I can make a new video in the future giving you credit and incorporating that in. But again, I don't make these until Wave 2. And because I don't make them in Wave 2, that leaves me with 100 mana. So what I will do is check and see what the difficult lane is. In this case, it looks like the left side has the hardest enemies. So I will upgrade this wall once, then save that last 50 mana for repairing as needed during the wave. Now, as I said, I will go through what happens if you have a split lane in the middle. That means you have magic resist and physical resist. So let's pretend that instead of neutral on this right side here, we have magic resist. So I'm going to sell all of these traps and that boost. I'm going to sell this trap as well. So since this side's still physical, I'll put 4 traps down and a diamond pattern here. Then I will switch back to my explosive to take care of our pretend magical lane. These will go in a diamond pattern as well. And you'll replace this trap that I had here with that elemental chaos and explosive. And in this build, I don't get a serenity here. I have to use this extra trap so that each side gets 4 of its own full damage traps, which is pretty important because of ogres, which I'll go over in a minute. And then I will replace that boost that I sold to fit those traps in right here. So when I'm playing this, I usually play with my Squire. And that's because on wave 5 and 7, you have a chance for double ogre mid. On wave 5 it's a chance, and on 7 it's guaranteed. Sometimes when 2 ogres jump together here in the middle, they have a tendency to walk over this wall, which is a pretty big issue. So the way that I take care of that is that when those ogres spawn in mid left and mid right, I will come down this lane and I will taunt this ogre. And I'll kind of drag him back and forth along here, giving time for the ogre on the left to come up into these traps and hopefully get down to like half damage. If you're playing solo, you're going to have to be a little careful here because you're going to be needing to repair at the same time. If you're playing with multiple people, it's pretty easy to have someone just kind of rotating, repairing, while you come out here and taunt this ogre and keep him away from the wall. If the ogre kills you or it fails and you get 2 here, you can always come back and taunt again and drag both or even just 1 to right here. That'll keep them in range of some of these traps, so they'll still be taking damage. There is an alternate build where you don't use AA and don't use boost ores and you just have a DPS Huntress in lieu of your monk. I don't use this build personally, but hopefully next week I will cover how to use that build to deal with the ogres and kind of keep everything going well. And the biggest issue is when those ogres walk over. I think that about covers it really for the basis of this build. I will be doing a video of me playing through this shortly, either today or sometime in the next week. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and like and subscribe.